Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Independence City Council for Monday, October 5th, 2020. Our invocation this evening will be offered by Shirley Murdoch, member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. If you would please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our dear Father in heaven, we come before thee this evening in the attitude of a city council meeting, and we ask thee to bless our mayor and each member of the council. We're grateful for them and their service, and that they assist them as they ponder and make the decisions that are best suited for the city. And we are grateful for our policemen and our firemen that step forward to protect us from harm and danger, and we ask blessings upon them. Especially, Heavenly Father, we ask thee to bless the citizens of Independence, that each will ponder the requirements of the coronavirus and protect themselves and others in as much as possible. We especially pray for those who have lost loved ones to the pandemic, that they might be comforted and assisted as they move on in the next weeks and months. And we ask thee to bless the medical people that are overwhelmed in many instances at this time, that they might have the equipment and supplies needed to be able to tend to the people in their care. We especially ask blessings on our scientists, that they will get the vaccination that can help protect us. We love thee and ask these blessings in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmembers Huff,
Here.
Perkins,
Here.
Stewart,
Here.
DeLucy,
Here.
Steinmeier,
Here.
Hobart,
Here.
Mayor Weir.
Here. We do have a couple of requests to address this council this evening. We will need to suspend the council rules of procedure to allow for those speakers who are not Independence residents or taxpayers to speak this evening. So I would make a motion to suspend the council rules of procedure.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. We also have a resolution brought forward this evening by myself that would also require that we suspend the council rules of procedure to override section 6.4 of our council rules of procedure, requiring 24 hours notice to include something on the agenda. So I would make the motion to suspend the council rules of order for consideration of this resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
No.
Steinmeier,
No.
Hobart,
No.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Motion passes.
I thought you were just making the.
It's just the motion to consider it this evening. It's not the motion to approve the resolution. Okay. It's just to suspend the rules of order so that we can vote on that this evening. Okay. Our first speaker this evening is Bob Sorensen, who wishes to speak to the council regarding in-person meetings of the post-65 assurance and stay-well committees, open enrollment on health insurance. Mr. Sorensen.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. My name's Bob Sorensen. I'm the president of the City Independence Retirees Group. We have over 900 members in the post-65 group and 292 members in the pre-65 group of retirees and their spouses. I am here today to express my concerns in regards to our health insurance meetings, both post-65 and stay well. They are currently being held virtually and not in person. I am also concerned about our upcoming open enrollment starting on October 26th. I'm being told they will be done by email and no in-person enrollment. I understand that the COVID-19 has caused this, and I too am concerned about everyone's health. Given this, I still believe that these meetings can be conducted in person. Persons with proper social distancing and masks being worn, this is currently being done by our mayor and city council, as an example of this council meeting tonight. I do believe the city has many places that are large enough for these meetings due to their size. Problems in regards to this, the post-65 had a meeting here just a week or so ago. Adam Norris and Jennifer from HR, John Welchert, Marla Kinsey, and myself attended it in conference room A. Cigna and Lockton and other employees in the administration were on virtually. The meeting lasted for a little over 2 hours. During that meeting, a minimum of 15 and probably a lot more times, I didn't count them exactly, we lost connection with the people on virtual. They didn't know what we last said, and when we lost it, sometimes we didn't know what they last said. The meeting was, I don't know, it was a mess. We weren't able to accomplish a lot of what I thought we should because we couldn't communicate, because nobody knew when the computer feed was going down. We had to reboot it, bring it back up, and it was a nightmare. Immediately after that meeting, I went to my house to try to watch the Staywell meeting that was held virtually that morning, just prior to our meeting, but I had to be here, so I went home to try to watch it. I got it up on my computer, and I have watched meetings virtually of the city. I couldn't hardly understand anything that was being said. I had a hard time hearing anybody during the virtual meeting, and I was able to gain nothing from trying to watch it because I couldn't make sense of what was being said. Whether it was just my computer that day or what, it was terrible. As president representing over 1,200 retirees and their spouses, I believe it is important to stay up on any possible changes, such as coverage, rate increases, or anything that's happening with the health insurance. This currently is very hard for me to do. In addressing the open enrollment, I've been told that open enrollment will start on October 26th, and there will be no in-person open enrollment. It will all be done by email. I have a lot of questions about that because I have a lot of retirees that contact me, and they want to know what are the changes, what's happening. They have a decision that post-65, which you all agreed to unanimously last December, there's 3 different insurance plans for post-65 retirees. And they can choose each year if they want to change from one plan to the other. Without an open enrollment and these people having their questions answered so they can make an informed decision, seems to me to be very hard for us to be able to do. I don't believe it's even humanly possible for HR directly towards Terry Covington, for her to have the time in any day to be able to answer the phone calls and the emails that she is going to be receiving in regards to open enrollment once these people get their packets and see what changes are coming forth.
You have 1 minute.
Okay. I understand with COVID-19, the city needs to be safe for all persons involved. I'm not sure I have the answer. I have thought of the Truman Memorial Building with the stands and the basketball court. The use of a microphone along with the table in the front and having a city representative and Cigna being there to be able to answer questions. It is a huge building and social distancing and masks could be required. That to me seems to be an option. To conclude, as far as the post-65 insurance program goes, it seems to be working fine. Anytime we have a member that's having an issue with it, I'm able to contact Julie at Cigna and she is able to resolve the issue. It has been a good working relationship with Cigna. We did have a major issue with the city attempting to add an administrative fee to the post-65 retirees. The problem was resolved and is no longer an issue. The administrative fee had been removed. Then it was brought up by the city at our last meeting that dental insurance was going to have a premium increase. They could not tell us how much, and they could not tell us when they were even going to notify the people that this was going to happen. I believe our group has established a good working relationship with the city. I hope it can continue. I just want to be informed and to keep my members informed in regards to any updates and changes. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Bob. And I appreciate you bringing this forward. I know you and I had a chance to talk just very briefly about this a couple of weeks ago. I just wanted to let people know that, since over this last couple of weeks, and when I say we, I mean the incident command team and the designated staff of the city manager have been trying to identify places where we can have more meetings with gatherings of people together that is safe, with masks and social distancing and barriers if that's required. There's certainly a couple of challenges with that. We have lots of spaces that are large. All of these meetings, whether they're in person or not, a virtual option needs to be provided. They need to be recorded and put on our city website, social or YouTube channel, City 7. Unfortunately, our technology is woefully outdated, not very sophisticated, and we suddenly got plunged into the situation where our technology has to be pretty darn good, and it's not. So we're working through those. I understand, for certainly the retirees, the challenges that may particularly be occurring with restricting them to online options. So I just wanted to say we are certainly considering how we can accommodate these hybrid meetings in a better way, because some people will still want to attend virtually, and we need to make that option available, and also to fulfill our requirements of the Sunshine Law to make those virtual meetings accessible to the public to attend and have archives of those meetings. So thank you very much for bringing that forward, and I assure you we are trying to work on a solution regarding that. Our next speaker this evening is David Meinson, who requests to speak to council regarding sewer overcharges and landlord inspections. Mr. Meinson.
Hello, Mayor and council members. This is my first city council meeting, so I'm not sure, how it goes. But I've been in correspondence with somebody with the city about, I had 6 rental properties in Independence and Blue Mills. And I think that's in the 2nd district. 2 represents the 2nd district. And about 2 years ago, they started this license thing and inspection of the rental properties. Well, I'm selling my properties because of that, because, it's $50 to inspect it, and then you gotta get a city license. I'm getting out of business because I'm not making any money. In fact, I'm losing money. So that is a concern. Now, I guess I've got it taken care of since I'm selling everything. So you won't be able to, get those charges again in the future. But then as I sell them, I get the utilities put in my name, of course, because I don't want them shut off. And I get bills from the city, and I'd use 0 water and get charged $50 for sewer. So who here would pay $50 for 0 gallons of gas? I guess nobody would. Well, I got a real problem with it. I think $50 is way excessive. And I have even called the utilities and spoke to them. They said, there's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing we can do about it. And I just think anytime the water is put in a new name, the sewer charge should be reset, which it is, I believe. And it should be based on the actual usage. I mean, if I put 0 cubic feet of water down the drain, why am I paying $50 for sewer? So those were my main two concerns that I wanted to bring up. And this was perfect timing. I was looking online, and I said, oh, there's a city council meeting tonight. I'll go. I'll get all the people I need to talk to all in one place. Because I've been going around. I talked to Denise Clark by email. And she said, Lisa Phelps said, and I requested a refund because I think I was overcharged on sewers at 1419 Holland Drive. I requested a refund, and Lisa Phelps, denied it, said, I'm not giving him a refund. Well, when you overcharge somebody, they expect a refund, right? So that's all I had.
Okay, thank you very much for coming this evening. Appreciate it. Madam City Clerk, is there anyone else here this evening or online who has requested to speak to the council tonight?
I didn't receive any others.
Is there anyone present or online who wishes to address the council this evening? Okay. This takes us to our presentation resolution for our Employee of the Month. Madam City Clerk.
A resolution recognizing Jennifer Sawyer, Administrative Assistant with the Water Department, as the Employee of the Month for October 2020. Whereas the City Employee Recognition Program recognizes outstanding performance by employees of the City of Independence, and whereas the Employee Recognition Committee has selected Jennifer Sawyer, Administrative Assistant with the Water Department, as the Employee of the Month for October 2020. The City Council of the City of Independence, Missouri joins in recognizing Jennifer Sawyer as the City of Independence Employee of the Month for October 2020.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd entertain a motion for approval of the resolution.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart.
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Congratulations to Jennifer Sawyer, our Employee of the Month. If you'd like to come forward.
Oh, she's here. Oh, that's awesome.
Our proclamation this evening is for Fire Prevention Week. Madam City Clerk. Look at.
Whereas City of Independence is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our city, and whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are at greatest risk from fire. Whereas cooking is the leading cause of home fires. Whereas the City of Independence residents should stay in the kitchen when frying food on the stovetop, keep a 3-foot kid-free zone around the cooking areas, and keep anything that can catch fire away from stovetops. And whereas residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. Whereas working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported home fires in half. And whereas the City of Independence Fire Department is dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection and education. Whereas the 2020 Fire Prevention Week theme is Serve Up Fire Safety in the Kitchen, effectively serves to remind us to stay alert and use caution when cooking to reduce the risk of kitchen fires. Therefore, Eileen N. Weir, Mayor of the City of Independence, hereby proclaims October 4th through 10th, 2020 as Fire Prevention Week, and it urges all people of Independence to participate by checking their kitchens for fire hazards and using safe cooking practices during Fire Prevention Week 2020.
Okay, thank you very much. Would you like to come forward and receive your proclamation?
Fire pup.
Kind of our spokesperson for fire prevention. Normally we'd be a little more active out in the community this time of year, but thought we'd bring Fire Pup Spirit with us tonight, and we should probably have it because it's on my house.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Fire Pup. Yep, thank you. Okay, this takes us to our consent agenda. Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Weir, I move to approve the reports and recommendations of the city manager.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We will consider the resolution that we added this evening separately. It does not have a number yet. Are there any other items any council member wishes pulled for separate consideration?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I'd like
Yes.
to pull 20-783 under resolutions
Okay,
and 20-074-2R under ordinances.
under, we'll do those separately.
Okay,
Okay,
my apologies.
all right, no problem. Anything else on the consent agenda? Yes.
Sorry. Item number 20-788.
Okay. Okay. Any others?
Madam Mayor,
Yeah.
20-790.
Okay. Okay, is that all? Okay, very good. Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll on the consent agenda minus Resolution 20783, 20788, and 20790?
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Councilman Hobart, we'll begin with you with 20783.
Thank you. This is the resolution that was on from a few weeks ago. And at that time, we voted to let the PUAB take a look at IPL first. I've watched the meeting along with many of my fellow council members, I believe, and a number of the public. And the PUAB has got their own schedule working, and I believe we need to go through them for any further IPL action. So I'd like to make a motion to indefinitely table this resolution until the PUAB comes back.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved in second to postpone 20783 indefinitely. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes, motion passes. Councilmember Stewart, I believe you were next with 20790.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yes,
So this is basically just a resolution that would encourage the city manager to hire another property maintenance code enforcement officer, but the job would be for a proactive one in the next budget year. So I kind of got this idea. I recently started with the police department in Ray County, and the police department actually does proactive nuisance violations. So I kind of thought to myself, why couldn't we go out and do proactive? So it'd just be for one person, and they would just kind of drive the city and look for stuff. But so anyway, with that said, I'll make a motion for approval on this.
Second.
okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Resolution passes. Councilman Steinmeier, 20788.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. City Manager, I was just going through an extensive list of all the adjustments here that we're having. Wondering a couple of things. Since we are moving and eliminating and reclassifying and doing all that, just some thought. I'm just curious if we would be open to having a discussion about our executive management team becoming residents of this city along the way of reclassifying and redefining.
That would certainly be something I think the council would want to dialogue about and see if that's a requirement that they would want to implement and institute. Right now, over half of our workforce lives outside of the city limits, so considerations would need to probably be made of, is that effective immediately? Is that something that you would want to grandfather in for new hires? How far into the organization? Would you keep that just at the executive level, and what would you define as executive? So those are just a few off the top of my head thoughts that would probably want to dialogue about prior to making a final determination.
I'd like to have this put on a study session if we could and just have a discussion on it. I'm not looking at all city employees, just more of your executive management team becoming residents of Independence and sharing some residency with us.
Okay. Mr. I'm sorry, was that all you had? Okay. Mr. City Manager, I was going through this as well. Could you, and you may not have this available for us this evening, but if you do, that's great. There's a number of positions that are being reclassified and adding some new positions. The resolution that we just passed from Councilman Stewart gives direction to consider adding that new position, so I assume that that will be coming forward to the council. Obviously, all personnel, all positions are filled based on budget and direction from the council and what the priorities are. But could you give me and the council a sense of these positions that are being affected? Can you tell me which ones are currently filled, which one are being held vacant, and if there is any active recruitment to fill any of these vacant positions?
Certainly, and for the folks watching's benefit, I'll give titles here. Just
Okay, thank you.
So on the cover sheet, you'll see items 1 and 2, which is removing a community liaison specialist, but adding the title of constituent services and legislative affairs officer. That is a filled position right now. It's an individual that's been doing work out of position. So for about the last year, we've been paying them out of position pay. This is repurposing their title to reflect the job duties and then changing the salary grade so that we're not doing out of position, but paying them commensurate with the job duties they have. So that will stay filled. Removing the Director of Public Utilities, there's a corresponding ordinance for first reading tonight, but this is just eliminating a title from the pay plan, but has no impact on staffing or filled positions. The reclassing of the title for Utility Account Administrator to Accounting Administrator, that is a position that we're going to be utilizing for our budget analyst purposes and helping develop the annual city budget. We do have an active posting for that right now that I believe closes at the end of October, so we could get that individual onboarded in time to start the annual budget development process. The General Manager, Deputy Director, that is in line with some of the feedback we've gotten from the council and the PUAB about clarifying the title of the Director of Power and Light. So this is reverting back to what was prior practice until 2 years ago. So that will stay a filled position. The mouthful that is the Resource Performance and Strategic Planning Manager is a vacant position that we want to, in order to compete more in the region and nationally, a similar title that's probably more familiar with people in this profession would be Assistant to the City Manager. That is a position that is currently vacant and one right now that we intend to leave vacant, but at such time that we decide to move forward with filling it, would be able to do so. And then finally, the Community Development Coordinator. We have an individual internally who has taken on responsibilities for the administration of the Community Development Block Grant Funding Program. So this would change the title of that position, and then the position that that person is vacating internally in the organization would stay vacant. So in sum, we'll have 2 positions vacant here. The rest are all filled positions.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilman Steinmeier would like to make a motion?
Yes, I move to approve Resolution 20-788.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart.
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes. Resolution passes. The resolution that the council has elected to change the council rules of procedure to allow for consideration tonight is titled a resolution directing the city manager to exercise the necessary procedures to implement the Phase 2 report recommendations submitted by DKMT Consulting. I asked for this to be brought forward tonight. The council and the Utility Rates Committee heard the presentation from DKMT Consulting. The PUAB elected not to have a separate presentation, that they would attend either the Utility Rates Committee and or the council meeting and hear the presentation, which they have done. I feel compelled to make a decision if we are going to move forward with this recommendation. This is a consulting service that we have paid $50,000 to have prepared, and the resolution this evening, and if you would like, I can certainly have the city clerk read it in its entirety, is asking the council to give direction to the city manager as to what to do with this report. So I would make a motion for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I attended the PUAB meeting of last Wednesday, and they basically would like time to look at the multiple reports that have been presented over the past 4 years and get a global view. And I read the charter, and I believe that's their job and not our job. So I'm going to be voting against this resolution.
Okay, very good. Yes.
Madam Mayor? Yes, on this, I'm just wanting to know what the urgency is. That's why I voted yes to hear this. I'm kind of confused on why it's a big hurry that we cut into this agenda tonight rather than waiting 2 weeks.
Well, because I feel that personally, and, we could certainly make a motion to postpone, but I feel that this report took quite a bit of time to prepare. It's been presented to the council, and the POAB has heard it, and I feel the time has come that we need to make a decision if we're going to act upon this report or let this company know that we are not going to pursue the recommendations.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. City Manager, there were things within that report that I did agree with, and I believe that those are, duties within the director's job and your job. For example, the FERC accountant. Is there a question as to whether or not that is a management within the IPL? Because I'll tell you right now, I can't operate IPL, and I'm not going to presume to operate IPL. I think the experts should. And I don't think you need this resolution to operate IPL.
We the only thing we might want to do there is just make sure that the costs that were quoted to us, because what we contracted with DKMT to do was our phase 1 assessment. So just like any new manager, anybody that comes in, they came in to provide a assessment overview of what they saw. And then what was provided at the conclusion of that report is these are the top 3 priorities that need to be addressed immediately. If you might remember, they had the red, yellow, and green categories. And they identified those. They had costing. So I don't have that in front of me. I'd want to double check that all of that fell within my spending authority. But other than that, no, I believe we could proceed with those items and move forward on them immediately.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilman?
I don't like this report on a few different counts, but I guess, Mr. City Manager, if you would enlighten us as to why we need oversight for our general manager to run that. Is that my understanding of the phase 2, that they're going to come in and help manage and operate IPL? Is that correct?
No, not exactly. What I would classify it more of, they would help with the FERC accounting part, kind of a twofold approach. One, rebuild that capacity by plugging the gap that's there immediately. So on the ground expertise providing that accounting service while also helping rebuild that capacity through recruiting, establishing, retaining qualified people to take that. So they would be the immediate triage, but then handed over to permanent personnel to handle that. The asset management and reliability aspects of that, helping beef those components up. So those two that I just mentioned, and again, I don't have the report in front of me, but I believe with the FERC side, we're leaving about $2.5 million on the table by not appropriately filing and reporting some of those accounting statements. And then the reliability and asset management, there's potential revenue loss associated with those if we don't have those where they need to be. Then they suggested that based on prior reports, like for example, the 2017 report that was done, and then their own assessments that they did in their 3-week engagement, of developing a strategic plan akin to, like, this council worked with Shockey Consulting back at the end of August to develop their goals and objectives for the next year. They would want to do something similar with our IPL staff, with this council, with the PUAB, to set those key priorities and objectives, and then how those are implemented. So they would not be in charge of day-to-day management or implementation of the day-to-day objectives. They would be more responsible for helping set that visionary outlook of what the council and the PUAB want to accomplish over the next whatever defined period of time.
How long have we been without the FERC accounting?
I don't have that information at my disposal.
Well, you say we've lost $2.5 million as a result of that?
Their report says that we could be sacrificing up to $2.5 million.
And so we need to go outside our city to establish vision, FERC accounting. We don't have the capacity to do that with our current director or general manager.
I don't think it has anything to do with your director. I think it has to do with the subordinate staff in there where we lack filled positions in this organization.
And yeah, I just wish I had an understanding of how long we've been without that FERC accounting.
Well, we'll get that information and send it to the council.
Okay. Well, I don't think I can support this, and I'll be voting no on it.
Just to clarify, this certainly is not a resolution to award a contract. It's, or expend resources to hire anybody as a consultant or management support. It's simply a resolution to direct the city manager to implement these recommendations and bring those back to the council for approval. Yes.
Mr. City Manager, I've reviewed this meeting back in the past, and these people were, the council voted to have these people come in and run Power and Light, not to assess Power and Light. I'm just having a hard time with that. And as far as the FERC accounting, I've been without a FERC accounting for a long time. I guess when they left, no one replaced them with FERC accounting, so there's plenty of people out there, just need to recruit one. I just feel that we're paying a lot of money in salaries out there for the top people out there, and assuming that you pick the right ones to run it, I don't see that we need this group to tell them what to do. I got a couple guys out there, so.
I apologize. Sorry to speak over you. I did check with our director, and he says it's about 18 months that we've lacked a filled position.
Okay, very good. Any other comments or questions on this resolution?
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Mr. City Manager, so with not approving this, what are your next action steps moving forward to help run an IPL and getting that back into where it needs to be?
Certainly, the path that's been laid out with the PUAB spending the next few months developing their recommended priorities, and then that coming to the council hopefully by the end of this year, for the council then to either endorse or reject or amend as they see fit. We as staff will take that policy direction that's given to us and work that and implement that, as was done with the list that was provided us at the end of last year and implemented. I will also be working one way, shape, or form to plug these gaps that have been identified in that phase 1 assessment by DKMT, whether it's them or another solution. But again, those are vulnerabilities that we need to address, and we'll do that. And then again, I think getting that information from the council will help us know whether we do a longer-term strategic planning engagement or if we just continue to bite this off in 6 to 12-month increments.
Given the nature of the way the industry is moving, we definitely need to get a good handle of what we do long-term here. For sure, the things are moving and changing rapidly. So us as a council have got to come with a consensus to get a clear vision of what we're going to do out there. The ratepayers demand it. The professionalism of our staff out there demand it. And the leadership of this council is demanding to move forward. So perhaps I make a suggestion that once the PAB gets all of this together, that we maybe have maybe a council retreat, if you will, so we can sit down and hash this out, and we can get a clear vision of what the heck we're going to do with this IPL, because the multi-discussions and layers up here is becoming quite head-turning. So we need a good steering direction, starting from you, Mr. City Manager, and also from this council. That would be my suggestion.
Very good. Mr. City Manager, in that process, and I understand what the PUAB has laid their work out ahead of them to advise the council, but these, we do have a number of reports that have also been brought forward to the council, including this one, our audit, some master planning reports that we have over the year, multitude of reports. So help me understand when the council gets the opportunity to bring its priorities forward to direct the city manager.
My understanding of that PUAB conversation from the September 22nd meeting, I believe, was that they wanted the opportunity to digest some of those reports like you mentioned and provide a recommended list of priorities by the end of the year for the council to endorse.
So are we to give our priorities to the PUAB for them to consider?
I can't weigh in on that, Mayor. That's their advisory to the
my
council.
understanding of the charter is that we direct this, the council directs the city manager. We are the board of the utility. And I certainly appreciate the input of the PUAB, and I think they've laid out a very good plan. But as Councilmember DeLucy said, there's things in these reports that we think are important, individually we may think are important, we may not agree with, we would rather not pursue, and I think that this council should should assume its responsibility to bring forward our recommendations and priorities directly to the city manager to be included in that process. Is there any other discussion on the resolution?
Yes, I have some discussion.
Yes.
And, we talked about this a couple weeks ago when the other resolution came up. But before we get there, that there has been no articulated fact as to why there's an emergency for this to be added on tonight. The community has not had a chance to consider this or take a closer look at the phase 2 of DKMT. The PUAB has not had a chance to discuss this or look at it or decide. In fact, in their last meeting, they specifically said they don't like the DKMT report. And whether we like it or not, our feelings don't matter. The charter says matters with IPL go through the PUAB, except for in case of emergency. There is not an emergency. There's not an emergency today, and there's not an emergency with IPL. We have got to stop thinking we have the right to do whatever we want. I disagree with that idea completely, and I will fight for it to the end. No matter how much anybody likes the PUAB, no matter what people's ideas are or feelings are about what we should be doing with IPL, we need to follow the charter. There have been studies and reports, countless. The PUAB has 4 studies, undoubtedly into the hundreds of thousands of dollars that have been spent. And every one of those studies has been ignored and set aside and rushed past. That ends now. That needs to end tonight. Mr. Nail is sitting in the audience. Mr. Walker's paid very close attention to this. If we need to have FERC accounting, that's a day-to-day business operation. Go get it. It's very much that simple. A board of directors, The board of directors for Apple does not call up Tim Cook and say, I want you to change an accountant or add a position. That's not the role of the board of directors. The role of a board of directors is to set high-level strategy. It's to solve problems that are unsolvable for the folks that are working there day to day. It is to take in the PUAB's recommendations, discuss them, and decide on whether we should do them or not. We have got to stop shortcutting this. The IPL is our biggest asset, and it's been our biggest albatross. Let's start doing things the way they were intended to be done. I absolutely am going to vote no on this.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
No.
Perkins.
No.
Stewart,
No.
DeLucy.
No.
Steinmeier.
No.
Hobart.
No.
Mayor Weir.
No. Resolution fails. This takes us to our non-ordinance action items. Madam City Clerk.
Council action is requested to authorize the city manager to execute a contract with the Inglewood Business Association for a license of the public area of the Inglewood Station Arts District and vicinity in connection with certain promotional events scheduled in 2020-2021.
Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart.
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Item passes.
Council action is requested regarding the change in ownership application received from Wadsworth Old Chicago, Inc. for a restaurant bar intoxicating liquor license and a Sunday restaurant intoxicating liquor license located at 4661 South Cochise Drive.
I don't have any issue with this item in particular, but, you know, I have asked the city manager after some discussion with some of the council members to research this Sunday liquor sales requirement permitting. It's very outdated in many ways, and I understand, Mr. City Manager, that this is required by state statute, that establishments have both a state and a local permit for liquor sales, and then a separate state and local permit for Sunday sales. So I certainly have no objection to this evening, or any of these that come forward to the council for approval. But I would like for us to continue to research if there would be a way for us to we can't, you know, it's unlikely that we're going to get much traction at the state level in terms of their licensing and permitting process, although we can certainly, you know, discuss that. But there may be some ways to improve our local permitting and licensing process to make this a little less burdensome on our establishments, who typically are all open 7 days a week. Is there any other discussion on this item?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, and just to kind of, well, just to speak into my concerns on our permitting, I've seen our permit listings, and I've had discussions with Mr. Scannell, who's does a great job for us. We need to empower our businesses, and I'm really concerned about the service industry and the hits that they've taken based on the county's heavy-handed measures that I feel like that have really done a lot of damage to our economy. And I would like for us at some point, I know we've talked about having just some discussion on our permitting costs, just to review, but I would like to also include in that, if we could, and I'd like the council to be involved in this as well, just looking at a way to give back to our service industry community, the businesses, maybe for next year in some way that we can look at and be responsible for. The permitting costs maybe being something that is a little more palatable for them next year, given the fact that they've operated 203 days under this mandate at 50%, but yet they paid for 100% occupancy licenses. We need to give back to them. We need to look at a way to be supportive of them. I'd like for us to have a discussion on that. Maybe that's something we put on the study session agenda as well. But if we can get together soon to discuss these permitting fees, I think some of the council will be shocked if they saw the page-long permitting fees, and they're very expensive. And I think we owe it to our business community to look at how we can better serve them.
Okay,
Madam Mayor?
yes.
Also, when
We
you
just
bring
heard
that,
something.
Mr. City Manager, I'd like to see utility-wise also, because they're getting full charge. Their business is still sitting there. They have to air condition it, cool it, whatever, hot, heat, cold, water, sewer, all year round at 50%. So I'm sure that, I know we look at all of our residents here, but we also have businesses out there that can't afford to pay their light bill at 50% or their sewer. So you bring that with you too.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll on item number 2?
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes?
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart.
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Item number 2 passes.
Consideration of a revised purchase and sale agreement for the property at 15621 East US 24 Highway to Ramos Properties LLC in substantially the same form as presented.
Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff.
Yes?
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart.
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Item passes. This takes us to our second readings.
Bill number 20-072, an ordinance vacating the east and west running alley abutting the south lines of all of lots 6 through 19 in Delay subdivision, a subdivision in Independence, Jackson County, Missouri. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff.
Yes?
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart.
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Ordinance passes.
Bill number 20-073, an ordinance amending Article 5 Speed Regulations of Chapter 18 of the Independent City Code and making other necessary revisions. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff.
Yes?
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart.
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Ordinance passes.
Bill number 20-074, an ordinance amending section 18.08.009 of the Independent City Code to include pedestrian and motor vehicle occupant safety and welfare standards. Second and final reading.
Madam Mayor,
Yes. Councilmember DeLucy.
I would just suggest that we go back to the ordinance prior to our amendment back in 2000 and, gosh, what was it, 14 maybe?
16.
16, where we did not allow any solicitation to be on the curb. What we've got right now, although Mr. Steinmeier says, you know, the ACLU approved it and they're good with it in Utah or someplace, I remember we didn't have any problems with it prior to 2016, and I'd like to go back to that. And it's for that reason I'm going to vote against this.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Yes, Councilman Huff.
Yes, I want to once again say this. Unless we enforce these rules, nothing's going to happen. I've asked the police chief to have the patrol, see somebody out on the curb, put your red lights on. You don't have to go out and ID them, tell them move along. Stand in that median, someone's going to get ran over. But until we enforce what we have, we're not going to go anywhere. It doesn't matter if we pass millions of these, so it needs to be addressed.
Is there any other discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff.
Yes?
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
DeLucy.
No.
Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart.
No.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Ordinance passes. Madam City Clerk, before we move on to the first readings, we do have 2 appropriation ordinances this evening. They are not listed as emergencies. They may be read as emergencies if that's the desire of the council. So if any, that would require a motion to read both of these as emergencies this evening, if anyone is so inclined to do these appropriations as emergencies this evening. Okay, hearing none, we'll treat them as first readings. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 20-075, an ordinance authorizing a contract for public water supply, District Number 2 of Jackson County, Missouri, for the City of Independence, Missouri, to supply water to them. Bill number 20-076, an ordinance approving a preliminary development plan for a tract of land located at 3206 North Spring Street in Independence, Missouri.
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
I believe this one was to be continued to November 2nd.
okay.
20-077, an ordinance adopting amendments to the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget, which was approved by ordinance number 19017. Bill number 20-078, an ordinance adopting amendments to the fiscal year 2021 budget, which was approved by ordinance number 19131. Bill number 20-079, an ordinance authorizing a contract with the Department of Justice for a grant award for the 2020 Improving Criminal Justice Responses to Domestic Violence, Dating Violence, Sexual Assault, and Stalking Grant Program in the amount of $750,000, appropriating the necessary funds in the Police Department and Finance and Administration Department operating budgets, authorizing future change orders for the same project, appropriating the necessary funds. Bill number 20-080, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 18883, passed on May 21st, 2018 by the City Council. Bill number 20-510, an ordinance authorizing the City of Independence, Missouri to enter into an equipment lease purchase agreement with Caterpillar Financial Services Corporation, the proceeds of which will be used to pay the cost of acquiring a small wheel loader and to approve the execution of certain documents in connection therewith and declaring an emergency. Bill number 20-510, an ordinance authorizing the City of Independence, Missouri to enter into an equipment lease purchase agreement with Caterpillar Financial Services Corporation, the proceeds of which will be used to pay the cost of acquiring a small wheel loader and to approve the execution of certain documents in connection therewith and declaring an emergency. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Yes.
Mr. City Manager, why is this an emergency?
This is a piece of equipment that'll be utilized in the snow removal season, so we wanted to go ahead and get this twice read tonight so that we could move forward with the purchase and have it here in time for snow removal season.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Deleucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes, ordinance passes. This takes us to council member comments. I'll start on my left with Councilman Hobart.
Go Chiefs.
Yeah. I'll save my other comment for the baseball game tonight. Councilman Steinmeier.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just want to add to what we heard earlier tonight about virtual meetings. What a disaster these have become. I don't know about you, but I struggle with the idea that we're running a very large company, making big decisions, doing it virtually with technology that really is not appropriate to do these types of meetings. And I'm frustrated for our retirees. These are big decisions. They affect their lives. They need effective communication. They need to have access to information. They don't know how to move forward without effective communication and information. My apologies to you for that. I share the same frustration. I'll be glad when we have the courage to open up again. And I say that with all respect. Listen, in our family, we have had COVID in our family. I understand the cautions and the concerns. I do. We live in a, as I said earlier today, we live in a pro-choice state, and we should have freedoms and we should have liberties. You know, without that, it's like a body with no spirit. We have to practice sensible common sense towards our family and our neighbors. And I'm ready to open our city back up. I'm ready to get back to the business of the people. We're 203 days in. I'm frustrated. Again, I apologize to our retirees for the frustration that you've suffered. I hope we can find a place and do a reboot of your meeting, and so that you can make decisions for your group and for our employees and for our city as a whole. So that's all I have tonight.
Councilmember DeLucci.
I would like to add to our next voting meeting, I want an amendment to our state of emergency. I want to make it very clear, as long as we have the 6-foot social distance and the mask, there is no reason to continue with this virtual meeting. Second, if the retirees cannot hear what the plan is going to be, how can they possibly make a decision on something that affects their family? And if that means we have to hire a video person to come in with good equipment to the sermon center and videotape it and put it on YouTube, then that's what it means. And I don't know if I need to make a motion tonight or not. I'm very concerned about open enrollment. There is no way our HR department is going to be able to handle all these calls. It's not going to be possible.
Yeah, and Adam's going to talk with Bob afterwards. Sounds like there's been, with all due respect, no fault on either side of my favorite people here. It just sounds like there was a slight misunderstanding about open enrollment. There was no indication that we were not going to have in-person open enrollment opportunities. We just wanted to, in compliance with the county orders, not have large gatherings of those, but smaller gatherings. And so we'll work through those logistics to make sure those still happen in
And
person.
remember, the county did amend their rules. All we have to do is submit a plan 72 hours in advance.
Yep.
The Sermon Center gym is gigantic. We can do it. Thank you, Mr. City Manager.
Is that, I hate to go out of turn, do we need to make a motion so we can
No.
approve something for that to happen?
We don't. I don't. We really don't. I mean, I think everybody is on the same page here. We understand that we need to make accommodations. And as I said, at the onset of the meeting, those discussions have been occurring. I am certainly very enthusiastic to hear the amount of support that this council has for investing in our technology. We could consider amendment of our CARES Act allocation to make that happen. That was a non-budgeted item. There's an opportunity, perhaps. I continue to hear of opportunities and pursue additional CARES Act funding. This was something that we identified very early on that was going to be a problem for this city, is accommodating these virtual meetings. Regardless, we will need to make a virtual option available to people. There are people who are not comfortable attending in-person meetings, and they're or are quarantined for one reason or another, who still have to have that opportunity. So just saying we're going to have open meetings isn't really the entire solution, but we need to make the offering better. I am in total agreement with that. Councilman Huff.
Yes, while you're at it, if you would, Mr. City Manager, will you fix it in here so I can hear? I'm one of them retirees and I can't hear.
Councilmember Perkins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Stole my thunder just a little bit there, and also to the list. Can you add what the total dollar amount would be? Because we're replacing the legacy systems throughout the city. And what is the dollar fixture that we're looking at to get the completely upgrade? And I'm not sure the technicalities here, the technical terms here. Bryce could probably help me out to get us fully operational into the future for this virtual world that we're living in.
The city public information officer is giving a presentation at the next study session,
Okay.
a week from tonight. One of the items that she's been working on back on September 28th, a request for qualifications closed to take into consideration all this. So she is working with vendors right now on an assessment. Don't know if we'll have that for that study session next week, but that is information we are trying to get.
Okay.
As the mayor said, there's been other priorities made over the years, technology not being one of them, and we're playing catch up with that.
Thank you. Second point is a lot of discussion with our small businesses who are struggling and hurting and taking hits. For sure they are. Could we do a report, not necessarily a study session, but definitely a report on, if our memory serves me correctly, the CDBG funds of $185,000 we set aside to help out with small business loans. Can we get a report, status report, where that is at, how that's being administered,
Yeah,
and all that good stuff?
I could do that right now.
Okay.
As it turns out, the HUD guidelines, HUD stands for Housing and Urban Development. They administer the federal CDBG program. Those are provingly to be overly cumbersome to
Okay.
utilized for that purpose. So staff is now working on a alternative plan to bring to the council to utilize that for rent assistance. Some of you may have seen the article in the Kansas City Star today, where we have residents in our city living in hotels. And speaking with the Community Services League, that is a growing issue in our
Right.
community. So we're bringing a proposal forward to you to consider repurposing those funds for that use.
Thank you. And also for a point of clarification, the 20-076, that was a first reading, so the second reading for that, for the Kentucky Hill development, is November 2nd? No?
It was posted on the agenda that the developer had requested that be moved to the November 2nd
But it
meeting.
was
So
read one time. Does that make any difference?
It doesn't. That was my error. I
Okay.
forgot that that was postponed to the second, so just
Oh.
pretend like that didn't happen.
Okay, I
So we'll
want to
have the
make that
first
point of
reading on the
clarification,
second.
so thank you. So we'll have first reading November 2nd. All right, thank you.
Councilman Stewart.
Nothing tonight, Mayor, thank you.
I've already said a lot, but that wasn't my real comments. Mr. City Manager, one of the things that we did approve tonight was amending the sewer connection fees. This, I would like to know, I asked you earlier today, I don't know if you had an opportunity to research this, how our sewer connection fee with this approval compares to some of our neighboring communities. I think there's a common theme going on up here that we want to try to be as supportive of our business community and certainly our residents as we can by evaluating some of these costs and fees. So I wasn't able to find that information. I was just curious. Just a little bit of research I did is I think it's important to know where we stand in relationship to neighboring communities who may also be competing for this kind of development. So were you able to pull that together for me?
Yeah,
Okay.
council may notice, and I know Mondays are busy for all of you, as are all days, but sent you a note late this afternoon. We surveyed 13 cities. Of those 13 cities, Independence ranked 8th with this fee, with the amendment that was passed tonight that took ours down to $200. The most expensive was Blue Springs at $5,312. Other, neighboring cities as example, Johnson County, $4,400. Lee Summit is about $3,000, Springfield $300, and then Independence checked in at $200. At the other end of the spectrum, Liberty and Belton don't charge a fee for this, but they were the only two cities that we found that didn't. Lowest fee of a city that assessed was Grandview at $100.
Okay, so of 13, 7 were higher than we are?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Okay, thank you very much. Anything else this evening, Mr. City Manager?
Nothing from me, thank you.
Okay, we are adjourned.